Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Census Data for Businesses and Entrepreneurs. I want to thank Matt and the Addison Public Library for coordinating today's training. Before we move on, let me introduce myself. My name is Judy Dunn, and I am a data dissemination specialist. I work with individuals, organizations, government officials, and others to increase their understanding and ability to access and work with the data the Census Bureau collects. I am here to be a free resource to the community, and I am available for consultations, questions, and trainings. So please save my contact information and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on either the Census Business Builder or other census questions. I am going to go off camera here. Just it allows me to focus a little bit more on presenting, and that way I also I'm saving a little bit of bandwidth. But I will come back on camera to answer any questions. So today we're going to talk about the Census Business Builder tool and how it offers small business owners selected Census Bureau and other statistics to guide their research for opening or expanding their business. As a resource partner for small business, this tool can assist in the services you provide your clients. We also are going to look behind the scenes of Census Business Builder to see where the data come from. We will go live to the website and look at several local usage examples. We will then have time for questions at the end. However, if you have questions during the presentation, you can put them in the chat and I will try to answer them along the way if possible. Finally, and if you do, please don't share any personally identifying information. We need to keep it generic. And finally, I'm going to share with you some additional resources that are available from the Census Bureau. Please keep in mind that this is a preview of the Census Business Builder tool. There are many layers to the data and research capabilities. I'm going to highlight many of these for you, and I will also share some additional on-demand training resources that are available. Once you are working on your own research, I encourage you to reach out to me with questions or maybe schedule an individual session to work together. There we go. So who is the Census Bureau and why do we have this data? The U.S. Census Bureau is the federal government's largest statistical agency. We conduct annual surveys of households and businesses across the nation each year. That includes our most famous, the decennial census that we do every 10 years that end in 0, the American Community Survey, and the economic census. Our mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. So what is the Census Business Builder tool and how does it use data that's collected by the Census Business Builder? Well, that's a good question. The Census Business Builder is a tool that provides easy access to information about potential customers and similar businesses for those starting or planning a business. The data are presented in a map-based interface that is accessed in a few simple steps. The Census Business Builder leverages Esri's ArcGIS platform and is the first U.S. Census Bureau data tool released on the cloud. The tool dynamically combines census geography and data through an application programming interface to deliver updated content to the user. So our data is talking with third-party data, and it all comes together in the cloud and builds this tool for you. The Census Business Builder enables you to search a variety of industries and data sets at the national, state, county, zip code, and neighborhood levels. The Census Business Builder tool has easy-to-use menus and search tools to select the location you'd like to research in nearly all types of businesses, interactive maps to browse and download data of the selected area and types of business. A customizable dashboard that includes time series, geographic comparisons, and geographic ranking charts. Interactive and downloadable reports, including charts that can be easily incorporated into your research. And most importantly, this is a free tool. This is a homepage for the Census Business Builder website. As you can see, you can choose to select your geography or start with a tour of the tool. So you can either take a tour or put in your own geography to start with. CBB gives users access using icons to the most popular industry categories and access to all types of businesses via the Search for Industries option. The search accesses the full list of the North American Industry Classification, or NAICS codes, covered by the economic census. Users can type in an industry title, keyword, or NAICS code, and the tool brings back a full list of all the associated industries. Some of the key map features in the dashboard are the geographic areas covered by the geographic and consumer spending, the demographic and consumer spending data, and that are shown at the state, county, city, town, and place, zip code, and census tract levels. Economic and workforce data are shown at the state, county, city, and town place levels. And we use city and town, you're going to see that, but we at the census use the term place. So you'll see that throughout here. When we talk about a place, it's talking about a metro, a incorporated city, town, village, that level of a geography. Trade data are shown at the state level, and users can browse data for every single county in the U.S. and look at both the single geography as well as a regional view. You can look at industry clusters. You can map variable options. You can use the menu filter. There is a map button that with some additional features there. There's a map legend, as well as you can generate a report. And that report's really a really important tool with Census Business Builder. The charts in each section of the report are interactive, and users can select which variable to graph via the icons next to the variable. The local business profile report provides access to the margins of errors for demographic data. Fully interactive, customizable, printable, and downloadable report with direct access to specific sections via a content panel. And the title at the top confirms the selected geography and industry sections. So in this example, you can see Arkansas was the geography that was selected. And I was at that time looking for total for all sectors. So you'll be able to see that here on the report. And then on the table of contents, you can actually edit the table of contents, and it comes with 4 headings here: the supply chain, the map, supply chain, consumer residence, and business summary. There are 3 options to build a region. And when you build a region, you can select 2 or more geographies of the same type. So if you're looking at 2 counties, or you can build a region of 2 or more geographies of 2 or more different types. So if you're looking for, DuPage County and maybe the village of Schaumburg, you can have a city and a county. Or you can build a region using, we have pre-built regions, which are the weather forecast offices, the small business administration hub zones, the HUD opportunity zones, and new recently is the FEMA disaster areas. So you can actually pull a region using those terms. So the Census Business Builder behind the scenes, the data here. I mentioned there's a lot of different data that comes into this tool. And this is just a very brief overlook at what that data includes. The economic programs are broken into different groupings based on timing. So think of it as a pyramid. Oops. At the top of the pyramid is a high frequency data, which is released in biweekly and weekly phases, most recently, such as the Small Business Pulse survey. As you come down the pyramid, we have our monthly and quarterly data, and this data provides a snapshot of the economy in a wide range of sectors, from retail and wholesale trade, building and construction data, services, manufacturing, international trade, demographics of business owners. Then we look at our annual programs that continue to measure these elements of the economy, but the sample is larger and you can begin to see trend data. More importantly, data become available beyond the national level and you can look more into more geographies. And lastly, the economic census, which is the most comprehensive data available. And all of this is sitting on top of the administrative data from our business register to supplement or produce economic products. And just a little side note on the economic census every 5 years, we do that in years that end in 2 and 7. So we are actually actively planning for the 2027 census or economic census. So the Census Bureau conducts many censuses, surveys, and estimates. As I mentioned, some of these data, as well as other third-party resources, are used in the Census Business Builder. And this is just a quick synopsis of these sources. The American Community Survey, or ACS, is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source. It is the largest survey of households in the United States, and data from this monthly survey include demographic, socioeconomic, and housing characteristics down to the neighborhood level, and which we call those census tracts. 1 year period estimates are for larger geographies or 65,000 and above. 5-year estimates are for smaller populations or for census tracts. We could do a whole session just on American Community Survey data. Business data from the county business patterns, non-employer statistics, economic census, and survey of business owners. Imports and export data comes from the International Trade Program. Workforce data from the quarterly workforce indicators. Building permit data comes from the Building Permit Survey. You can actually add your own data live via Excel, a file upload feature. We get consumer spending data from ESRI. Agricultural data comes from the Census of Agriculture with the USDA. Employment and related data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and quarterly census of employment and wages. And all of these programs are complex in nature. However, the Census Business Builder tool leverages the data in an easy-to-use format that we're going to go live in the demonstration next. Finally, we're going to talk about the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS codes. And this is a standard used by federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments for the purpose of collecting, analyzing, and publishing statistical data related to the U.S. business economy. The premise of NAICS is that as you add more digits to the NAICS code, the description gets more specific. So if you look at the hierarchy here, you're going to see the level, the code, and the description of that coding. So when you look at a sector level, you've got code 51, and it's for information. A subsector, you go to 3 digits, and it looks at broadcasting. We move down to a 4-digit code, looks at specifically radio and television broadcasting. A 5-digit code goes to radio broadcasting, and a full 6-digit code goes to radio stations. And there's a link here. When you get the slides later, these links are active, so you'll be able just to click on that. We will visit this site in the live demo. Just a couple other notes. When we're talking, when I'm talking about establishments, that means a physical business location. When I talk about a firm or company, it could have two or more establishments within a company or firm. So when I look at DuPage County, there could be 47 McDonald's establishments. There's one company firm, but the number of establishments are the locations. And when I talk about employers, employers have paid employees. Non-employers, which is an important sector that we need to take into consideration, they are sole proprietors with no paid employees. They fill out a 1099 tax form for us, and that allows us to track the economic activity through the IRS records for their sectors. This is a different visualization of that same concept. This is looking at a NAICS code, and going from a 2-digit to a 4-digit really is going to depend on what you're looking to use the data for. If you're looking at competition for other restaurants and eating places, you might want to look at that 4-digit code because you're being very specific. But if you're looking at competition for hiring employees, you might want to look at the accommodation food service industry as a whole, because those employees would both be classified under that 2-digit sector code. So steps to starting a business. I'd like to just cover this for a couple of minutes because it will flow into the data we're talking about. So how can all of this data help you start a business? As I mentioned, the U.S. Census Bureau measures America's people, places, and economy. We provide a wealth of statistics that are essential resources to help businesses to succeed and grow. Starting a business is no small feat. It takes courage, perseverance, and much more. But being aware and prepared as much as possible are key steps. This slide shows a series of steps that summarize the startup process. When thinking about opening a business, there's a lot to consider. For example, will you service other businesses only, or will you be servicing the general public? We call these business to business or business to consumer establishments. You must also learn about and identify your potential customers, your suppliers, and your competitors. These are things you must also think about when you're in expansion mode. Part of opening a small business is documenting your business dream on paper. This is also known as a business marketing plan. You will need to decide on a business name, a legal structure, those kinds of things. And this step also involves activities that the Census Bureau can assist with, including researching your industry or market, analyzing trends, identifying your target market, identifying your competition, and identifying your location. The Census Bureau can assist you in identifying data for potential customers, potential competitors, and help you to visualize information on possible locations for your business. So while the data sources are complex and comprehensive, there are 4 easy steps to begin your research that will be the basis of your analysis. You're going to select your geography or location, select the business you want to research, browse the data on a map, and produce a report. And that's what we're going to do on our live demo. So I'm going to switch over to Google here. Now, the Census Business Builder is designed to work with the most recent versions of popular web browsers such as Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Foxfire, and Safari. I am on Google Chrome. If you want to open another browser and follow along, you are welcome to do that. And there are many ways to get to the Census Business Builder. You could just type Census Business Builder into your browser. I'm going to show you where it is from the Census homepage. So you've got your homepage, and you've got your Data and Maps tab at the top, drop-down menu. And under Data and Tools is the list of all of our data tools. And I always like to point this out because we have many tools here for exploring census data, and just the breadth of what you can do here is really important. But we also have a glossary. So if you see a term you don't understand, you can use the glossary to see how we are defining it here at Census. But we're going to go back to Census Business Builder. There's Census Business Builder and just a quick report lookup. That is just a very, it's not nearly as robust as the full tool. So we're going to go to the Census Business Builder. And that's going to take us to this page here that talks about the platform. It's going to let you know it was just updated very recently in the last month. Talks about the features to the tool. It has some flyers here, tips and tricks. If you're wanting to do that data upload, there's instructions here for it. There's an introduction. There's some introduction PDFs there. Up here, you're going to find some tabs for using it in the classroom. If you're a teacher and want a high school teacher and want to use Census Business Builder in a business class, there's instructions there. There's some webinars, tutorials. If you need to come back for a tutorial, you can do that and just click on the recorded webinar. We are going to just go back. And I'm going to click on the tool. You've got the, why don't you type in DuPage County, because it will allow us to look at a bigger picture at the county level versus looking at just Addison. We'll go back to Addison. I'll show you once we get some information on DuPage, how to narrow it down. Okay, perfect. You've got that. Okay. And you can see it does take a minute to load, but while we're doing that, I want you to see kind of on the dashboard, you can see some stats that have appeared for DuPage County automatically. Those are pulling from the data underneath. You've also have got the number of establishments. Those are business establishments within DuPage County. Now, all of that on the dashboard is customizable, but let's customize the industry first. And we're going to go up to Custom Industries in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. And let's just type in restaurants. And then you can hit search. And now you can see you've got lots of NAICS codes that are populating automatically. Let's click on that full service restaurant. Slide down a little bit. Okay. And it will automatically load. You can actually have more than one industry code in there, and it will pull it all up together. Right now, let's just look at one industry. The red button there would reset, but you just click, no, don't reset, but just go and click somewhere off of the box. It's fine, and it'll take you back. And now you can see in your dashboard that there are 773 full service restaurants in DuPage County. And that the median income is 112,000. You've got your high school graduation percentage. Let's go ahead, click on median household income. and click the star there. And see how that automatically changes how the map looks? It's taken that statistic, that data point, and made it the main mapping variable under on the other side, on the left-hand side there. So that is what we're going to be looking at as our main variable. And if you click the variable NA, there's two ways you can add another variable there. You can click right there, or as you can see, it opened up the drop-down menu under variables. And on the left side of that box, there's a primary variable, which we've already mapped, that's in black. The secondary variable is what we're looking for right now. So I want to look, right, there's a secondary variable. And I want to look at the categories there. You've got 8 different categories, 7 of ours, and 1 is your personal variables if you wanted to overlay something. Let's look at the consumer spending variable in those primary categories. That's kind of in that second section. Yes, there you go. Perfect. And now we're going to look at the drop-down menu. And let's look at consumer expenditures on, I think okay, if you scroll down just a little bit, food away from home, consumer expenditures on dining out. There we go. And it automatically fills that second variable. Let's, click outside of that. Just anywhere. There you go. And you can see an orange dot has appeared. Also, if you click the X over the 773, then the grayed out box, okay. That way it's, you can edit any of those using the pencil. You just need to tell it to close when you're done. And so now if you scroll out a little bit on the map, you can just kind of scroll out a little bit. That's good. And it'll load that data. And you can also drop that. You see there's a little caret there. You can drop that dashboard down. There you go. You're going to see for all of the counties that are in this particular view, what their median income is in the range, as well as if you hover your cursor over one of the orange dots, you'll see what their the median household income, as well as that consumer expenditures on dining out, food away from home. So if you were looking to open a restaurant, this is really valuable information. How much disposable income do the people who live in that community have? What do they typically spend on an average basis, an annual basis, on eating out? And this is coming from that Esri consumer spending data. If you enlarge that a little bit now, so we'll zoom back into Addison. Okay, perfect. And if you find the dashboard again, yeah, the dashboard there, perfect. So when you're looking at the dashboard, I want to show you there's a Create Report button in the lower left-hand corner there. Yep, perfect. And that's going to open a new tab for you. And when you scroll down this report, it takes a minute to load. You're going to see, first of all, in that upper left-hand corner, it's going to say full service restaurants for DuPage County, Illinois. So it's going to tell you the industry that you selected and the geography you selected. Also on the right-hand side, you're going to see a link to full service restaurants. That's showing that we are pulling information on data for full service restaurants. If you had more than one geography, it would be listed below that on the report. But let's just scroll down this real quick because I want to show you the breadth of the information in this report. And you're going to see a little map so you can see the geography of the data that you've selected. Most of the data is there. You're going to see some top impact sectors for the selected area. You'll see some wholesale trade for the county. There's demographic. This is being pulled now from the American Community Survey, this demographic information. So if you're wanting to look at your customer base in an area, this is really important data to know who are your customers. And actually, if you were to click on any of those factors on the graphs, over on the graph, you see it changed the what's being highlighted on the grid, on the graphs there. So you can highlight whatever, if you're looking at 21 and over to open a bar, you can highlight the population that's 21 and over in the community. If you're looking at, senior services, you could look at 65 and over. And that's a way to customize that. If you're using this report as a tool for a bank loan, if you are making a proposal to other prospective funders, it shows that you've done your homework and you know your community and your potential customers. If you scroll down a little bit farther, you're going to see those socioeconomic characteristics of the community. It works the same way. If you wanted to highlight a specific characteristic for your report, you can do that. If we scroll down a little further, you've got housing information. That's really important if you're like opening it, if you wanted, buy a house to be an Airbnb somewhere, that you know your community. And as we go farther down, you're going to get some employment characteristics this is pulling from the county business data. This is not going to be available at the city level. That's one of the reasons I like to show it at the county level first, and then we can look at adjusting this for the village of Addison. So let's scroll down a little bit farther. You're going to get some business summaries. You can looking at just the restaurant industry, you can see the number of employees and how many employees certain size restaurants are employing. So that's good for you to know. And as we go farther down, you get some non-employer businesses. Again, important to know what is happening with that sector. And we're going to get to quarterly business data on number of establishments. It's looking strictly at that restaurant industry, full service restaurants. And the building permits is not, it's just looking at county data, but it's there for informational purposes. And then we get to the business comparisons, which is really nice to be able to look at different kinds of firms and see how they compare to each other. And that is pulling data for the county. And when we get down, we've done a little bit of key ratios. We've done some of the math for you on averages here. And right below that, we've got business ownership. And I promise we're getting into consumer spending. It's a long report. And again, more information. There's consumer spending. So now you can look at all of consumer spending for this particular community, and this will also be available for individuals for looking at the city or town or at a zip code, or if you want to look at a census tract level. Also, on the left-hand side, you're going to see the table of contents. You can actually edit that and hide pieces if you don't want to highlight all of that in your business report if it's not relevant. You can click on it and it'll shrink down and you can hide it. Up in the upper right-hand corner of that box, you'll see you can export this. Under settings, you can view the margin of errors. You can display the sources and the margin of errors, or you can keep them hidden. Exporting allows you to bring it down either, I believe it's just to a PDF. I'm not sure if it goes into Excel or not. Okay, CVS or print. So you can go to Excel or print it as a PDF. So you can go back to the other tab now. You don't need to close this out. We'll just go back to the other tab. Because I want to show you if we click on the city and town level next to that. Now, if you go right there, correct. Okay, and it takes a moment to populate, and it'll give you a little warning that not everything's going to be visible. And you're going to see now the cities and towns populating, and you can put the dashboard down for a few minutes. So now you can see those median household income and the amount spent dining out for individual places, the city and towns. You could look at it by zip code if you were doing a marketing piece and was doing a mailer based on a zip code. You could do it by census tract. If you were looking to where you wanted to set up a restaurant, you could look at the census tracts for several different towns at once, and see down to that level where consumers are spending. If you're looking at a mid-range restaurant or not. You can also look at the filters in the upper right-hand corner. There you go, filters. Okay. And you can add a filter. And let's click on the selected data variable, the empty box at the bottom. Okay. And we are going to look at just scroll down for a bit. Can you scroll down? Because it's got everything in here. And let's look at that spending on, it's at the bottom. Okay, let's go back up and let's look at working age adults. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I just percent of, here we go, percent 65. No, let's, I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Okay, let's look at that. So we can look at that. If we wanted to narrow it down to a younger crowd, say you wanted 25 to 50, you can slide that down to 50 years old, and you're going to narrow your market. So if you can look at your target market. So if you wanted to look at it by income, you could do that. If you want to look at it by an age range, you can, and just click finish. And then just click out of it. Yeah, that's fine.